You, yeah, you're going to Japan and you want to know where to live, what the right accommodation would be for you. I lived there in Japan for 7 months and luckily I got all the information you need. So I will share it with you so you will spare some time on your research. So just let's go! Hey guys, quick introduction to me. I'm Viggo. I lived 7 months in Japan, went 6 months to Japanese language schools, lived in Tokyo and in Fukuoka. I want to give you people as much information about the whole procedure, on where to live, what to find out, what to watch out for, because when I was doing my own research, I thought it was really hard, and I just want to give you all the information that I was wishing for while I did all my preparations. So let's get started. If you're going on the long-term run, you just have three different options. The first one is pretty self-explanatory, which are the rented out apartments or rented out houses if you're going with like friends or family. The share houses, so you're living with other people together, a bit more like a WG, which is we call here in Germany, usually done by students and stuff. And the last thing we have is Junge, wie heißt denn das schon wieder? Ich komme mal nicht drauf. Homestay. And the third one that we have is homestay. The third one that we have is homestay. So you're actually living with Japanese people, Japanese families under one roof, and you get some support. You can talk to them every single day. They will probably even show you around, and you're eating with them. Sounds a bit stupid, but for me this one was pretty interesting and pretty one of the highlights, to be honest. So let's dig into all of them. Let's go! So, do you live alone? So we're gonna start with number one, the private houses or the private apartments. I think this one is the most easiest and the most forwarded one. As you do probably in your own country, you will just rent out an apartment or a house. This is of course more in the short run because we're just having a working holiday visa, maybe a student visa for a bit longer time, and then maybe we're just going on like vacation for three months or something, but want to go to a Japanese language course. You can find pretty easily already furnished, already installed Wi-Fi apartments in Japan. You just need to Google them and you will find a lot of websites which will guide you through the process. These websites can be a little bit fiddly. And to be honest, I think the Japanese people tend to overwork their like websites and stuff. It's always so flashy and here and there. So they're a bit user unfriendly, if I would say it. But yeah, just put a little bit of effort in it. You need to, of course, first off sort out if you want to go to Tokyo, Osaka, Fukuoka, or like even the Mecha Inaka, so like the rural side of Japan. But if you are going with one of the bigger cities, should be no problem. Just Google it, private apartment, and you will find one. Then of course you kind of need to check for yourself, is it close to the point that you usually want to go? For my example, we're going to go with like a Japanese language school, so you should find out which school that you want to go to, do this in front, and after you have this settled out, search an apartment. Of course, you can also do the other way around. You find an apartment that you really like and then search for some kind of Japanese language school that you like in that area. But I think the other way around is way better because you're spending so much time in the Japanese language school that it's more important that the school is a nice school that rather you have a super cool apartment, I would say. In the end, you will just want to sleep in the apartment and call it a day. Usually you're pretty outgoing, going out with friends, going to bars, meeting local people. So I think the house is not that important, and I would also say don't spend too much money on it. Due to the fact that these private apartments or private houses are already furnished, they are a bit more expensive than the actual like empty flat ones that you could normally borrow or rent out as a normal people living long term in those apartments. And from what I've researched, usually they tend to work on sometimes even weeks, usually on month terms. If you're lucky, you can even rent them out for only 1 month, but usually they're kind of like that you are at least staying 3 months in the apartment. For the private apartments, there are, of course, also differences. Usually you can actually get something looking like a normal flat that you have in your own country as well, or you can find something which is a bit more looking like a dormitory. So like these huge houses where everyone is living together for students. Then you usually have like one huge building, maybe it has like 5 floors, and on each floor are like 10 rooms, for example, but everyone has their own designated room with like they have a shower and everything for yourself. Sometimes you can have dormitories also, where everyone is then sharing a huge bathroom on this specific floor. And I think this is probably like the most important part for yourself that you need to decide on. If you are a very clean person, if you really like to have your private time or sometimes get annoyed pretty fast by other people, I would recommend you going or choosing one of the private apartments, because in the end you can just close your door. You don't need to stress out with the cleanliness of other people, because everyone has a different sense of what is clean, you know, especially if we later come to share houses stuff where you need to share like toilets and showers. So for some people, I would really recommend a private apartment if you are maybe a bit more strong-sided on like cleanliness and have your real way of setting something up, or other people can kind of like make you mad and angry pretty fast because, I don't know, you're a bit more the introverted person. Then I could definitely recommend you the private apartment, and you will also, no worries, will find friends outside. From my own research that I just did, you can expect that a normal flat in like Japanese size, which can be super different from like European or especially like American house sizes, a normal flat would be like 20 square meters, 30 square meters if you really got a big one. Sometimes they're just like 12 or something. But you have all the necessities. You have yourself your own kitchen, you have a bathroom, and you have your living room with a bed. The price, as I said before, will really change by the location that you are, but for now we're gonna go with Tokyo. And usually if you go more to the inner part of the city, maybe even like Shinjuku and Shibuya and stuff, then you can expect an amount of 600 to maybe even 1,000 euros per month. Of course, in the end, dependent on your size. Okay, now we got this out of the way, so we can go with number 2, which is also the option I chose. These are the share houses. The share house is a bit more easy and a bit more social. You are living with different people in a house all together. Usually how big the houses can also vary. You can have some houses which are really big and kind of like living with 30 people all together. And you can have smaller houses where you maybe live with only 10 people or maybe even like 6 or 7. And you're sharing like a living room, you're sharing the bathrooms, you're sharing the showers, the toilets, the rooftop if there is anything like this. But in the end, you have your own private room with your bed and your desk and stuff. Also, this is for most of the time always already pre-furnished. It has furniture and the desk and stuff, everything is already included, like an AC, like an air conditioner, and the Wi-Fi is there as well. The benefit with going with a share house is you will immediately have people that you need to meet, that you are sharing a place with. So you will, if you want it or not, you will bump into them in your house, in the kitchen, while just doing the laundry and stuff. Everything will be there and you will talk to them and have the chance to make friends already from the get-go. You don't need to go out. You have the chance to meet people, whether there are other foreigners living there or even Japanese local people who just tend to like more the social living lifestyle. With the people living together, it of course has a downside as well, and the downside is that there are other people. Everyone has theirself a different viewing of what is clean, so maybe if you're super clean or you are a bit more the messy type, you can get problems with other people because you will leave some hair in the shower. You will forget your empty shower bottle, or other people will do, and you'll get angry and be like, yo, what the fuck is that? That is so dirty, that is gross, and I don't want to take a shower in it. I think we all had experiences like this when we went to a toilet and we're like, what the fuck was the person before me doing here? It's nasty as hell and you don't want to do it. But if you're living kind of like maybe 4 months in an apartment like this, and you always have to struggle with the same person, of course you can talk to them and kind of like need to find out who it is. But I guess, to be honest, we all want to avoid it if possible. So if you're a bit sensitive to something like this, maybe it is better for you to choose a private apartment. Because you're living all together in a big house, you will also have duties that you need to do. So in my example, I was living in a share house with, I think, 11 people in total in the house. There was a changing garbage plan. In Japan, usually you have like burnable, non-burnable, and like extra garbage and like the cans and glasses and stuff. These are separated, and once per week we got an email, and in the email was stated kind of like who was on duty for the week and when the trash cans will get taken up by the company who's responsible for it. So the evening before, you will kind of like put everything in a big trash can which is collected usually like in the kitchen, and bring it outside in front of the house where there's like a huge garbage collection box. But you need to be responsible for it, of course. If you don't do it, if you will forget it, you will have a huge garbage pile piling up in the kitchen because you forgot to do it. And of course the other people will get mad at you. So if you would ask me, I would really prefer, and would give it to you as a recommendation, the share house type, because it gives you so much interaction with all the different people. If they're from Japan, if they're locals, if not, you will meet like other people from Europe, from America, from Taiwan, and what else not. And the point that you're seeing them every single day, even if you're a bit more introverted, makes it more easy on like the 5th time maybe to approach them and find some friends, which you maybe even struggle, or you're just really an outgoing person and you immediately find new friends and have someone that you can always like chill out with in the kitchen. And I think it's super cool, especially because we don't usually, then we all have a bit more free time than we usually have in our own country. So you will end up sitting in the kitchen all together, having a drink, having a talk. And I really thought this was amazing, and this was a super cool idea. Okay, the last thing we have, number 3, is homestay. The most expensive option out of all of them, but you are living with a local Japanese family. Sounds amazing. You have actual local people who can guide you around, tell you some tips and tricks, but usually you will eat with them at least like dinner. So you need to pay more, of course, because your dinner is every day included in the amount of money that you will pay them. So you have a, usually I guess, Japanese mom which will do the food for like their husband and the children and stuff as well. So you really have the chance of eating super local stuff that you sometimes can't even get in a restaurant. For example, something like jaganiku, which is a bit more like potatoes and meat, but a bit more like a stew type. The jaganiku is a really traditional Japanese dish, but hardly found in any kind of restaurants and stores, even not in izakayas. So I think it's wonderful. And in my time in Japan, I did not have the experience to live with a homestay family. And I've asked one of my Japanese friends kind of like, what is his recommendation for something that I should eat, especially while being in Japan? And he was like, yeah, my favorite food, you definitely need to eat like jaganiku. And I was like, damn, where the hell can I do that? And in the end, I mean, we went together, and some Japanese people made it for me. So if you have kind of like these opportunities from the get-go, living with someone else together, I think it's super cool and wonderful. And I think this is a bit wishful thinking, but if we all have now kind of like let our imagination go, we will think about living with like a dad and a mom, and there's sometimes like 1 or 2 children. And you can hang out with the children, sometimes like play with them if it's video games or board games, but like the children have a bit more time, maybe you can do with them some homework and stuff, and the whole experience feels so wholesome and lovely. But this is not always true. I've met some people in Japan who did the homestay and exactly had this cool opportunity and this cool families that they lived in. But I also heard from other people who were exactly, it's like the worst case scenario that I've heard actually from a person that I've met. They were living with one Japanese grandma together, but she was living in a big house. It was only her, kind of like you as the homestay person, but there were at the same time 4 other homestay persons as well. So if you have something like this, your experience will not feel that Japanese anymore, because usually in the end there are way more foreigners than there are like this Japanese grandmother, for example. Of course, she also did like the meals for them or with them. You can kind of like get some cooking experience with your local obasan. But you need to watch out for it. I don't know if there's any specific way to kind of like sort this out from the get-go, because usually the persons of course want to hide their private information, kind of don't want to, no one wants to declare that from the outside, hey, we are a family with like 2 children who are this and that old. So you can get lucky, but I think you can get unlucky as well. And especially kind of like if you compare to the price, you really need to think about it. From what I've read online, of course, it depends also on how long you stay. The longer you stay, the cheaper it will get. But the homestay function is actually set per day. So 1 day is a set unit, and then you can stay 1 month or 1 week, 2 months. But sometimes often they also have like minimum requirements, because they don't want that every single week someone new moves in. They want a little bit of getting accustomed to someone and having a nice time all together, of course, getting to know each other very well. So, and if you want to go with that option, from what I was seeing on the internet, you're paying something like 20 to 100 euros per day. Really depends on how long you're going to stay in total. Where are you going to stay? So if it's Tokyo, if it's more rural side of Japan and stuff. But as we just said before, it is the most expensive one. And also you have a little bit more obligations. You're not living alone. You cannot, I mean, you can in the end close the door, but you're still living with other people and you're kind of like intruding them in their house, even if you're paying. So you really need to stick hard to their rules. And from what I've heard from other friends and people that I went to my schools, is usually they have like a time in which you need to come back by the evening. Of course, you got a key to the house and you can enter freely on your own. But maybe they have children who need to go to school, or for whatever reason, I've often heard that you need to be back until 10 in the evening. Sometimes you want to be out until 12, 11 in the night, 1 in the morning. I mean, Japan has like the time where all the train stops, but usually can go at least until like 12 and then get the last train and going home, even if it's a bit further. But if you need to be at home sometimes around 10, it can limit yourself in the way you're living. And you definitely don't want to like cross the borders and just be like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna go home at 2. Even if you're paying for it, I think always respect the cultures that you're living in, which is super important. But I've had some people who in the long run didn't like that so much. And of course you can stay out and then kind of sleep in your friends' places, or book like a love ho, like super cheap, only like a love hotel only for yourself. It's like the most cheapest version that you can get for 1 night if you kind of want to go out partying or drinking or something. But it limits you in a way. And I think, to be honest, there is not so much that I can add to it. Besides, I went 6 months to a Japanese language school, and all of these schools, if you are in contact with them and maybe even made your booking for your school time, they will help you with it. So just feel free to reach out to your the one who's kind of like supporting you and doing all the email contact with you, and ask them on like the housing situation if they have recommendations. At least usually they have like recommendations on like which websites or like a specific service which can help you out find your desired way of living. And often, for example, in those 2 schools that I went to, they even have their own private living. So you can just say your school, I want to live next close to the school, and they have like a private service or something which they work with, and they will do everything for you. So they will even prepare all the documents, all the payment and stuff for you. So at the end, you're kind of like paying the money to the school, and the school is doing all the rest for the time. And I've even met people who stayed longer in their apartment than they went to school. So even if the contract ended with the school, maybe you only want to stay 3 months in Japanese language school, but your home working holiday visa is maybe you want to stay 9 months in Tokyo, you can even live longer in that apartment that you got over the school that you are actually in school, which is, I think, a super, super, super important and nice situation for your own sake. Okay, this video was not too long. I tried to keep it short for you to give you the most information I could in the bare minimum of time. And if you liked it, please let me know. I would really appreciate like a thumbs up or some comments. This account is still so small, so I'm really looking forward to it. And if you have any other questions, other topics that I should talk about, or you want a bit more detailed information, also just let me know. I will happily try to help you out or give you even more information if it is wished. Compared to the other videos before, they were way longer and I did way more like explanation and how was my own feelings and how did I receive the whole experience. If you want more, a bit more like free talking and how was it, kind of like get way more, see it as a side video, not something where you can actually pull out a lot of information, but it's a bit more even for entertainment purposes, I guess. Also let me know, because this one, doing the more on-point structurized way of doing is a bit harder for me. I really need to focus because I usually tend to slip up and always end up just doing blah, 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 long ass talking. But yeah, just let me know which one you like more and what would you like to see. Until then, stay healthy and I guess we will see us in Japan. Mata ne.